Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you the top 10 most well designed Ark Tames. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. In at number 10 we have got the Crystal Wyvern, and come on, this really does deserve to be on the list. A Wyvern which is significantly easier to tame, and their elemental abilities just really do work to the fullest. While like the normal Wyvern, their turning circle isn't the best thing in the world, their speed is still something of huge respect, and their damage output is something which you really can't put behind you. These creatures are capable of gathering insane speed when travelling across the Ark map, and although maybe they can't go as fast as something like a Griffin, it lacks that dive bomb ability, and just at a standard normal flying rate, the Wyvern flies faster than the Griffin anyway. It really is a very well designed Ark creature, and if you've never tamed one before, I would strongly recommend that you do so at some point. Next up, I've decided to put the Velonasaur, as I really do like this as an Ark creature, and I find it's sort of sad that they haven't revisited the same design as the Velonasaur ever since its release, or at least maybe had some kind of newer variants, but I guess that's fine. The Velonasaur still stands by itself, although I think a bit of TLC could be nice on a creature like this. But I find the ability that it has to shoot spines at other creatures works really effectively, and I love it as a tame. It again is a shame that they haven't really doubled down on this in a way, because I'd like to see more creatures with these abilities. I find it such a cool way to attack and think of combat scenarios, as now it's not just simply run up to something and just smash it. You think about the distance you are from the creature, and you think about like tactics more or less, which maybe you wouldn't think about in a general given Ark scenario of fighting, because Ark fights tend to be not on the very exciting side, at least in the PvE side of things, because it's basically just stand there and click a button. I know it still kind of is the same thing, but it adds a new dimension. Coming up next, we have got the Thylacoleo. This creature is really an insane one on the island, and it's sort of uncontested really on the map, although there are a few creatures which I think do a slight better job in terms of design than the Thylacoleo, but it does fit into its own niche very well, being able to scale walls and vertical surfaces with relative ease. And now say it struggles a little bit because the terrain can be finicky in a lot of areas, but still you can get around relatively easily, and they have the bleed ability on top of all of this too, which is a great thing for all carnivores to have. It really isn't something which you should underestimate, as it is something which is going to gain you great damage output when fighting general creatures along the way of just whatever travel you're on, because realistically you're probably using this more as a travel mount. But considering just how good they are at combat as well, sadly they're not allowed into bosses, you are going to be safe along all of that travel, as long as maybe you don't get dismounted off of your mount. But you know, that could go with really any creature apart from creatures which have rider protection, which this creature doesn't. But that great mobility and great damage output really do make this a very well designed creature, and it works ergonomically with the controls. It never feels fiddly to get around things. I really do like how this creature has been designed, and I think it really is a good one in that aspect. In at number 7 we have got the Baryonyx, and I find for caving there is no creature which is better designed than this thing. It really just does a lot in terms of all of that. It is a small agile carnivore that is capable of going through caves with relative ease. It's like the perfect size for all of them, apart from the artifacts of the Skylords, but you would struggle to even bring something like a dung beetle or a Dilo in there, so there's no point moaning over that cave. But all the other caves, as far as I'm concerned on the island, even the underwater ones, this creature is going to be exceptionally good at, and I love its caving use. It is a fast, mobile creature that is capable of outputting damage when it needs to, and its health isn't too low where it's just going to die under the huge influx of enemies, as you're going to need quite a lot of health to do these caves. But it should be all well and just perfectly fine if you simply prepare with one of these things. And because of their spin attack that can stun creatures up to the size of a Megalodon, they work quite effectively in underwater caves too, adding to their truly great design in my opinion. Coming up next, we have got the Argentavis, and I really do have to put it here. The Argy has been through so many times with me as an Ark player. I find it is really deserving of the list, extremely deserving of the list, I should really say. This creature is just capable of so much as a tame, and although some people might say it's a little bit on the slow side, its weight reduction and its smithy its saddle acting as a portable smithy really do hone in this creature's use for efficiency. The fact they can also pick up an extra creature in its mouth along with a very wide range of creatures, especially considering its size in its claws, this really is one for travelling goods across the map. If you thought of the big cruise liners that maybe go through the canals like the Suez and Panama, the RG is essentially that, but just in Ark instead. They can also really quickly regen too with no difficulty whatsoever. If you simply eat something that's dead or kill something and then eat said dead body, you will regen with insane speed, and trust me, it may not seem useful on the surface, but when you get into it, it really does come in handy where you may not actually expect it. In at number 5, we have got the Desmodus, and come on, I feel like this creature really does deserve to take the middle spot. While being a great glider like the Griffin, I will give the Griffin an honourable mention here. Again, do not comment I didn't put the Griffin on this list, and while technically I didn't, I'm putting it in the number 5 spot with the Desmodus, same as the Snow Owl. That is another great creature, but I'm mainly going to be talking about the Desmodus here, as it is my favourite of the 3. This creature has the glide ability, similar to the Griffin and the Snow Owl, not the dive bomb ability like the Griffin has, but still, I find it works very smoothly and effectively, and I only really use the ability for just travelling with better speed rather than actually attacking. It can grip onto any kind of wall, vertical surface, or even ceilings, like the Tapijara you'll find on the map, although this is a far better creature than that. Same tone message as the creature next up on the list, so I'll get onto that then. And they can also make Sanguine Elixir, which is just pure joy as a PvE player to me, because, you know, 30% of your team done with a click of a button. They're also blood bag farms, which is very important for this creature and the next one. Coming up next, as you could probably expect, we have got the Bloodstalker. This creature is one of those where it is just so well designed for so many environments. I simply have to put it quite high on the list. If you didn't know already, and if you haven't been watching the channel recently or just at all, if you're new here, the Bloodstalker is my all-time favourite underwater mount, and I really can't find anything, in my opinion, that exceeds it in that sense. It does make sense though, being the main travelling mount on Genesis Part 1, and Genesis Part 1 of course having that ocean biome. It really does lean into all of that, and I think it works very effectively. You can see all the aggros of the creatures, so you can quickly escape danger if you ever feel you need it. You can skate along the top of the water too, so that could also be a measure of escaping danger. Or also simply, if you just want to cross the water without swimming in it, you can just skate along the top of it. And then when you come out of the water, you can just Spider-Man yourself all around the place. Not to mention that in the water you've just got great mobility as well, which I can't really find with a lot of other underwater creatures. You can just move in all directions so fluidly and easily, with no bad turning circles or things like that. It basically has no mass, this creature, to some sense, and obviously it's quite a small one, so it would make sense why everything is quite small and tight, and you really feel like that this creature is just one of those where you really do just love it in an underwater environment. But also, when you come out of the water again too, you have a lot of travel mobility, and if I've got a Desmodus, I can easily get a very high level one of these things, but do bear in mind you probably want to bring a Mosschops along as well and feed that to it first if you want 100% effectiveness on the thing. In at number 3, we have got the Maewing, and come on, this creature really does deserve to be here. It is the epitome of all travelling mounts, and Wildcard is probably never going to make a better travel mount, to say the least. It is the fastest of the bunch, And while not a flyer, it is an extremely powerful glider in that sense. It really does excel in the category of travel, and its weight is decent as well, and its stamina, obviously it's going to last you for ages. It is a glider after all. The saddle was unlocked at level 18, which is essentially just an absolute cheat code, but I usually wait until level 21 so that I can get the tranks. Then obviously you want 3 signs. Get 3 signs, some tranks, and the Maewing saddle, and boom, you can tame yourself the highest level Maewing right off of the bat that you can find. You don't have to settle for lower levels to start off with, although it may seem tempting. If you do your trap right, the high level Maewing is not going to get out, and if you just have enough tranks, which isn't actually a lot, to knock out a really high level one, you should be fine. They act as a portable feeding trough too, so you should have no trouble out there if you're a breeder. They work with the Gigantoraptor as well, which is a recent addition to Ark. But if you're still on ASE, kind of like I am most of the time, you don't have to worry about that. They're pretty decent swimmers, like the Bloodstalker too. They can glide on top of the water, and they're berry gatherers, which you shouldn't underestimate. In at number 2, we have got the Shadowmane. This is just such a diverse creature in terms of abilities. Again, there might be some sort of disagreement with what I put in the number 1 spot, but I really truly love that creature, so I'm going to keep it there. My opinions, after all, feel free to comment down below if your opinions differ. I'll remind you of that in the outro of the video too. But the Shadowmane is just so well designed in terms of all the abilities that it really does pack. It can jump to incredible heights, which is just like, it's insane how high these things can actually jump. You can easily travel this biome on Crystal Isles without even the need of a flyer with a creature like this. It's like, still, it shocks me how high these things can jump. They have the hydration buff too, and of course are great swimmers. And the bleed ability too, at least I think they have the bleed ability. Let's hope that I didn't get that wrong. I'm confident they do. At least the last time I used them, they did. And yeah, I'm not sure. I'll put a notice on screen. I've had a brain blank, but let's get on to the next one. And in number 1, we have got the Deinonychus, and this creature really is one of my favorites, and in fact it probably just is my favorite Ark creatures out there. These things are just so good for such a wide variety of things, namely boss fights, as they can deal bleed to bosses, and no other Ark creature can do this. And I love their general model design, and they just look so cool with all of the feathers on them. They really have had a lot of thought put into them, but that grappling onto a creature just looks so sort of majestic in a way, you could almost say. It is just so cool and so well designed in all of their abilities. They have the bleed ability on top of that too, which is just such a nice thing. Did I say bleed ability again? Yes, I did. I meant pack buff, because the pack buff is going to boost your damage even more. Because yes, once you got 3 or more of these things, you get that pack buff, and you're going to be dealing even more damage. They take no full damage too, which is just so nice for a creature like this. Like, come on. Having no full damage on a creature with insane mobility is an absolute godsend. It really does add a lot of fluidity into all of your playing. These creatures are just amazing for all of that, and they can climb up any kind of wall or vertical surface, the exact same as the Thylacoleo, but I find they are far more effective creatures, and they're allowed in bosses too, and they don't take full damage, and I just find them to be way better creatures, and they, in my opinion, are the best or most well designed Ark creatures out there. But anyway, that is the end of today's video. I really hope that you all did enjoy, as I definitely did enjoy making it. Again, comment down below what is the most well designed Ark creature in your opinion, and if you don't agree with this list, like I said, put your 10 in the comments below, because I want to hear your thoughts. I'll see you later.